students, I am Dr. R. Mathisha Ebby Perin, Senior Resident, Department of General Medicine, Sree Balaji Medical College and Hospital. I have 1.5 years experience as consultant and diabetologist. As author, I have 10 publications and 3 textbooks. So today's topic will be on approach to dysphagia. So in dysphagia, today we will discuss about the definition, its prevalence, the causes, the risk factors, the signs and symptoms of dysphagia, the diagnostic approach and tools, the treatment strategy, including the medical, surgical, and behavioral intervention, management and long-term care in dysphagia, and the impact of dysphagia on the patient quality of life. So, what is dysphagia? Dysphagia is nothing but difficulty in swallowing. There is a subjective sensation to impairment to solids and liquids from the mouth to the stomach. So, dysphagia is not a disease itself, but it is a symptom of an underlying disorder. So, before going to the swallowing disorder, the anatomy of overview of swallowing includes oral cavity, then your pharynx, then comes your larynx, esophagus, upper esophageal sphincter and lower esophageal sphincter. Normal swallowing is also known as deglutition. It is a highly coordinated process. It involves involuntary and voluntary movements, and also it has multiple cranial nerve involvement, more commonly 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th and 12th cranial nerve. All these together work in a perfect synchrony. There are 4 phases of swallowing. That is, first stage will be one voluntary phase and all the 3 rest of the phase are involuntary. The first phase will be your oral phase. That is when the food particles are chewed into your mouth and it becomes a soft mass called the bolus. Then it goes into the pharyngeal phase where the bolus reaches back to the throat, where the soft palate gets triggered. It clears the nasal passage and allows free for swallowing. Next comes the esophageal phase, and the last will be your gastric phase, the last phase into your stomach. Classification of dysphagia, it has 2 classification, your oropharyngeal dysphagia and your esophageal dysphagia. This oropharyngeal dysphagia develops when there is an impaired function in your tongue, soft palate, pharyngeal constrictor and upper esophageal sphincter. The common causes of this oropharyngeal or transfer dysphagia will be stroke, Parkinson disease, myasthenia gravis, ALS and post-radiation fibrosis. The key complication will be aspiration and recurrent pneumonia. Next will be your esophageal dysphagia. This is the act of swallowing is easily initiated, then the bolus seems to be stuck in your throat. Initially it starts with solids, then liquids occur. The common etiology will be your mechanical obstruction, strictures, carcinomas, rings and web, and motility disorder like achalasia cardia, diffuse esophageal spasm. So initially the patient will have easy swallowing, then there will be a discomfort retrosternally, and initially there will be difficulty to solids, then develops to liquids. Another classification has functional and structural classification. Functional classification, the pattern will be intermittent and non-progressive. It involves both liquid and solids. The common causes would be achalasia cardia, myasthenia gravis and bulbar palsy. Structural dysphagia, the pattern will be progressive, initially with solids, later with liquids. Causes will be your mechanical obstruction, strictures, esophageal carcinoma or any extrinsic compression like your mediastinal mass. Epidemiology, this dysphagia usually affect 10 to 15% of individual over 65 years. It is observed that people with stroke, 30 to 50% of people with stroke has been affected by dysphagia. The neurological causes of dysphagia will be stroke, Parkinson disease, motor neuron disorder, myasthenia gravis, multiple sclerosis and peripheral neuropathies. Structural causes will be peptic strictures, extrinsic compression like goiter or your mediastinal mass, post-surgical or radiational fibrosis, esophageal carcinoma. Inflammatory or infection cause will be esophagitis, candidiasis, cytomegalovirus, herpes simplex virus, eosinophilic esophagitis. Motility disorders will be achalasia cardia, diffuse esophageal spasm, scleroderma and ineffective mobility due to diabetes or any systemic disorders. Oropharyngeal dysphagia, as I told, the structural abnormalities will be because of zinca diverticulum, pharyngeal tumors, cricopharyngeal bar, head and neck surgery or radiation. Inflammatory conditions include pharyngitis and tonsillitis. Typical symptoms: the patient will complain of coughing or choking during or immediately after eating, nasal regurgitation, wet and gurgly voice quality after swallowing, a sensation of food sticking in your throat, recurrent pneumonia due to aspiration. The key clinical difference is your timing and the symptom onset. As I told, in oropharyngeal dysphagia, it happens immediately after swallowing, and both solids and liquids, there is difficulty in swallowing, and it is non-progressive. As in case of esophageal dysphagia, initial movement of swallowing phase is normal, after which it is progressive, initially difficulty to solids, then later to liquids. So history taking is important to come with a proper diagnosis and treatment with dysphagia. So a meticulous and a structured history is a cornerstone in evaluating dysphagia. It differentiates between esophageal and oropharyngeal dysplasia and other structural or motility disorders. So initially difficulty, if there is difficulty only to solids, then there is any mechanical obstruction, like it can be stricture, ring or carcinoma. If both solids and liquid difficulty are there, then it can be achalasia, diffuse esophageal spasm and scleroderma. If there is difficulty in initiating swallowing and coughing immediately after swallowing, it is from any oropharyngeal dysphagia, neurological dysfunction or muscular dysfunction. Progressive, a progressive course starting with solids and later with liquids is narrowing or neoplastic obstruction. Intermittent dysphagia suggests a transient motility abnormalities or benign condition like esophageal rings and web. Associated feature: if the patient is having regurgitation of undigested food, then it implies esophageal stasis, common in achalasia and diverticula. Aspiration episodes or coughing during swallowing indicates a oropharyngeal incoordination. Chest pain or any retrosternal discomfort may accompany motility disorder or reflex related disorders. Odontophagia, that is difficulty in swallowing, pain in swallowing, often suggests any inflammation or ulceration due to infection, any pill injury or malignancy. What are the neurological association of dysphagia is in cerebrovascular accident or stroke, it has a common neurological cause of oropharyngeal dysphagia. In case of Parkinson, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, myasthenia gravis, there is an improper coordination between your pharyngeal and the laryngeal muscles, causing aspiration and ineffective swallowing. In multiple sclerosis, impaired neural transmission occurs, delaying initiation of swallow reflex. So during examination, a thorough oral cavity examination should be done, assessing the dentation, tongue movement and the moistureness of the mucous membrane. You should look for any ulceration, candidiasis or any other lesion in the oral cavity. Then a proper neurological examination should be done. Assessment of a cranial nerve system focusing on the 9th, 10th and the 12th cranial nerve should be done. Neck examination: palpate the neck for any mass which can cause obstruction causing dysphagia like lymphadenopathy or any thyroid abnormalities. Auscultate for carotid bruits that can suggest any structural obstruction or inflammation. So approach to dysphagia, usually it is depending upon the location and the clinical findings of dysphagia. So you should, clinically we should localize whether it is oropharyngeal or esophageal, whether it is mechanical or motility. A barium swallow study is it details the structure and the function of the pharynx and esophagus. So barium swallow study, it is nothing but a contrast radiographic study that details the structures and the function of pharynx and esophagus. So it can show a structure if there is any structural lesion, as in case of strictures, webs, diverticula or any external compression. It can show any characteristic motility disorders. Example, bird beaking finding can be seen in achalasia cardia, or a corkscrew pattern can be seen in diffuse esophageal spasm. So barium swallow study, in case of structural problem, in peptic strictures there is a smooth tapered narrowing in the distal esophagus. In case of esophageal carcinoma, there is a irregular narrowing. Example, an apple core lesion can be seen. If in case of webs or rings, it appears as a thin concentric filling defect at the esophageogastric junction. If in case of extrinsic compression, it shows a smooth indentation from outside structures like enlarged left atrium or a mediastinal mass. So barium swallow studying in case of motility disorders, if it is an eclasia cardia, the pattern is usually a bird peaking appearance. It shows a tapering of the distal esophagus with a proximal dilatation. So the next investigation will be your endoscopy. It is a definitive diagnostic tool for dysphagia. So if it is an upper GI endoscopy, esophageogastroduodenoscopy is a definitive diagnostic test for visualizing the mucosal, inflammatory and the neoplastic lesions causing dysphagia. It allows a direct visualization and biopsy can be taken if needed. It is also used for therapeutic intervention in a single procedure. So what are the red flag signs of dysphagia is where and all an urgent medical treatment is required. First, weight loss. An unintentional progressive weight loss in a patient with dysphagia strongly suggests malignancy or any advanced systemic disorders. If the patient is having hematemesis or melena, dark colored stools, black colored stools, it indicates bleeding, indicates ulceration or any neoplastic eruption from the esophagus. Endoscopic evaluation is mandatory if a patient comes with hematemesis and melena. Rapid progression, dysphagia versus rapidly over weeks than months, then it needs an immediate medical intervention. It also raises a concern for esophageal carcinoma or any infectious ulceration. That brings me to the end of today's session. I'll meet you in another interesting session.